Okay, we're in the middle of some Geshmaka Agarata by Eoiv, and we end off the Perek with leaving Eoiv, but getting into even more Geshmaka Agarata. So we saw yesterday that Esav and Yaakov, that Esav had, Avram Avinu died, he said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu beres es Avram bakol, that Esav did not go off the derech until Avram left this world. Indeed, Avram did not leave this world till Yishmael did tshuva. And the Gemara gave an example of, how do we know that Yishmael did tshuva? Because by the levaya of Avram, he went ahead and obviously gave covet to Yitzchak, despite the fact that Yishmael being older, he let Yitzchak go first. So we're on the bottom line of Yud Tes Zayin Amid Beis. Tan Rabbanan. Shloisha hit imum HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'olam hazeh, Amid Aleph, me'ein haba. 3 individuals that Kadosh Baruch Hu gave a taste of the next world in this world. Eluhein, who are they? Avram, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Avram d'chsiv bei bakol, Yitzchak d'chsiv bei mikol, Yaakov d'chsiv bei kol. Okay, so in other words, we all, Hashem, in benching we say what? Bakol mikol kol. This is the source. And if you look at Rashi brings the psukim. Bakol mikol kol. Avram ksiv Hashem beirachas Avram bakol. We saw yesterday machloikas what that meant, but certainly on its pashto level, bakol means everything, meaning afilu what the next world. Yitzchak ksiv oichel mikol. They weren't missing any toiva, so they even the time of Gan Eden of Olam Haba they tasted in this world. Frey twice as a kasha, guys. We had a Gemara yesterday that Eoiv, he had a donkey, he had chamorim, he had shvarim. They went ahead and they plowed, and as soon as they plowed, what happened? The Asonis came along and ate it right afterwards. And we said it was like like women childbirth, they got pregnant and they give birth right away. Who did and they plowed and right away. So why are they not counted? Frek the kasha, pap toisvis, hey malarashba, my lechoshev nami eoiv dom alael v'his vasoinus royas al yedehem v'lamed shetim kadosh baruch hu me'elam haba, that they were able to eat right away. Yesh leima the eoiv lehoya ela bechad milsa. Only this one thing regarding the feeding the animals that they were able to eat, that he saw his crop grow, but everything else not. Very nice teretz. He only had one aspect of Me'en Olam Haba, whereas Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov had every aspect. Says the Gemara Vaita. 3 people the Yetzer Hara did not have control over. Eluhein, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Dechsibahu, Bakol, Mikol, Kol. Again, the same linwood. David wrote on himself, "Libi cholol b'kirbi," and my lave was like hollow inside me, meaning that Yetzer Hara was totally subjugated. When he says "Libi cholol b'kirbi," so the one who did not count David only counted 3. He said "Libi cholol b'kirbi" was referring to David's life of tsar, the tremendous tsar he had in his life, that his heart was already broken. Says Taisvis, nothing. Taisus, 3 Taisus down. Ben Yetzer Hara. Ein lefarish shleishata klal. You can't say they didn't have any shlita at all. Then Cain, heichi kiblu aleha igra. How could they ever get what? Rewarded. You get rewarded for the nisayon. If you have no Yetzer Hara, there's no nisayon. Says my dechsiv ragle kidamar. My dechsiv ella kidamar. My dechsiv ragle chasid of Yishmar. The feet of his pious ones he watches. Since the person passes half of his lifetime, he saw that these Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov worked so hard to stay away from Aveira. Sayom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Messiah them, he helped them. So it says that it's not pshat that they didn't have a Yetzer Hara. Of course they had a Yetzer Hara, but they worked so hard on staying away from it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was Messiah that was not in control of them. But they did have one. They did have one. It's important concept to know, because again, if a person doesn't have a Yetzer Hara, I once heard that's pshat, fellas. Kilo yoroni adam v'choy. A person can't see me and live. So what do you learn? You see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the manifestation of God, the kedusha would kill you. I'm sure that's true. But you would no longer have Bechira anymore if you saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Your Bechira would be so skewed, you wouldn't have any Yetzer Hara, so there would be no purpose in you living. And that's the concept that Tosfos is saying, that if they had no Yetzer Hara, where is the schar? And a person's in this life, there's a concept of schar v'einish. So therefore, that will go ahead and be a very, very good example of this concept that a Kodesh Baruch Hu, Tosfos Kasha and Tosfos Teretz. Pan Rabbana, Shisha lo sholtem hen malach hamavis. There were 6 individuals that the malach hamavis did not have shlita over. Right, 6 individuals that the malach hamavis did not have shlita over. Right, ve'elu hein Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, Moshe Aaron Miriam. Is this week's parsha with Aaron dying this week's parsha? When is Aaron's nifta? This week, right? And Miriam also this week. So, Rabbi Avi, there you go. So today's daf. So these, what does that mean? Avram Yitzchak Yaakov Siv Bahu Bakom Mikol, Moshe Aaron and Miriam Sivahu Al Pi Hashem. Right? They went ahead and they died Mises Neshika Al Pi Hashem. Okay, how does that mean that what? That the Malach HaMavis had no shlita? It's mashma that Hashem took the neshamis and not the Malach HaMavis. More of a Miriam like Siv Al Pi Hashem. It doesn't say by Miriam. Rabbi Laz and Miriam Nami ben Neshika Mesa. The Asya Sham in Moshe. He learns that one from Moshe Rabbeinu. The Malay Nemar Ba Al Pi Hashem Shekanaya Dava Loima. It's good night to say what that a Kodesh Baruch Hu was kissed a woman. Says Rashi. Kol mi kol kol. No, the one before. Shleisholta ben Malach HaMavis Elamesu ben Neshika Al Pi Neshchina. As I said, they died Al Pi Neshika to the Shechina. Bakol mi kol kol. Lechasu shum kavid. They weren't missing anything. Umatzinu kavid zeh ben Moshe v'Aaron shnema ben Al Pi Hashem. Then Elu mesu al dei Malach HaMavis nimsa shechasu kavid. If the Malach HaMavis took him, they would be chasa in their kavid. So therefore, what it says Al Pi Hashem. Says Kidam Maroin, Shemes Al Pi Shechina ben Roya Rim. Okay, that's weiter. Says Mortan Rabbanan. Shiva lo sholta barima.
What this Amar of Allah is Rashi brings this down on the pasuk.
Yeah,
it's in the Chumash.
Yeah, it's a before Rashi. Rashi gets again. I always said I taught Bereshis for many years, and I always said people think the Ramban al Torah is Rashi is the Ramban al Torah is much more derech pshat than Rashi. Rashi explained the Torah. He looked all the Talmudic sources, and he used that to explain the Torah. That clearly you see that. If you listen to what I'm telling you, when you learn Rashi, you'll see he constantly is bringing in from Sifra, Sifri, Gemara, Shas, all over. He's bringing in explanations. Whereas Ramban explained it derech svara, so it's much more logical. I mean, the parts of the Ramban that are not more heavy duty nister, but he really did explain it much more derech pshat than Rashi did. He really did. Says the Gemara, Tan Rabbanan, Shiva le'sholta ben Rima v'tolah. There were 7 that was not the Rima, the when a person dies and the body decays, they would say the worms eat them up. So these are 7 people that the worms did not eat up. Ve'elohein, Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Moshe Aaron and Miriam, u'Binyamin ben Yaakov. Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov d'chsibahu b'kol mikol kol. Moshe v'Aaron and Miriam d'chsibahu al pi Hashem. U'Binyamin ben Yaakov d'chsibahu Binyamin Amar Yedid Hashem Yishkoin levetach alav. So the lashon Rashi says Yishkoin levetach is that Islamic that is the Shechina is Yedid. So he's not going to go ahead and decay. Yeshoim Raf David, even David d'chsiv af b'sari Yishkoin levetach. My Basra will reside forever. The Idach who did not go ahead and include David. Who rachmi who the kaboy that he was davening. He was davening for that. Says Tosfos, second Tosfos, it's out of order. Shiva shalei sholtem barima, Taimel Rashba, the Kulit Tzadiki Nami, Dama b'Shabbos a perik shoyel, v'rekev atzamas kina. What causes atzamas to go decay? It's what? It's jealousy. Misheyesh lekina b'liboy atzamas of nirkavim. Someone who has jealousy, then his bones go ahead and rot. So what are you picking out these 7 individuals? What are they more unique? Any tzaddik. It's possible that you don't rot, but nonetheless worms get you. It's possible not to rot, but worms will get there. And you remember this story, guys. Remember the Rebbe Lazar Shimon was in the attic, He was worried they won't give him proper cover. And he was in the attic for quite a few years. And he told his wife, "Don't worry, I'm not going to decay. You don't have to worry about it." Then one day she said she saw what? A worm come out of his ear. So what do you see from that Gemara? It's possible not to decay and a worm going ahead and be part of you. So these 7 clearly not only did they not decay, but the worms also were not part of them. I've told many times the story. The Shiva after the war, he met this Jew in the United States, and the Jew had been a communist. He'd been a communist, and he had a relationship with the Rosh Hashiva, and he was religious. Rosh Hashiva said, "What happened?" And he told him that they were making a railroad through the Vilna cemetery in Lithuania, and they opened up the kever of the Gra. This is 1947. The Gra was nifter in 1797. That's exactly 150 years. They opened up the grave of the Vilna Gaon, and they said he was smiling and his cheeks were rosy red. He was smiling and his cheeks were rosy red. And they closed it up. They put it back. I don't know if they didn't build this. And this person, as a result of that, became religious. I said, many people can go ahead and be Makarav people in their lifetime. Only the Vilna Gaon can be Makarav person 150 years after his death. It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable story. So so it fits in very nicely that tzaddikim they do not rot. Tzaddikim they don't rot. Anyway, weiter. Tan Rabbanan, Arba Mesa Bitav Shel Nachash. Now we know that when Adam Rishon was supposed to live forever, Adam Rishon was supposed to live forever, and the only reason that death came to the world was because he ate from the Eitz Hadas. Now, who influenced Chava to eat from the Eitz Hadas? It was the Nachash HaKadmoni, and the Desire says the Nachash HaKadmoni was the Eitz Sahara. Right, so it's very fits in appropriate with Satan, with Eoiv. We conclude with Eoiv with the Eitz Sahara, so the reason death is in this world is only because of the Nachash. In other words, most people, death is in the world because of the Averis they do. But there were people, the only 4 people who died only as a result of the advice of the Nachash, meaning they never did an Aver in their life. But this is Gemara that appears most prominent in Masechta Shabbos Taflin Hey, and this is a little tucked away over here in Baba Basra. So Abba Mesa Be'itav Shel Nachash, with literally the advice of the Nachash, Ve'eluhein, Binyamin ben Yaakov, the Amram Avi Moshe. Oh, if the cash on that, he married his aunt. Yocheved was Amram's aunt, right? You say it's before Matan Torah, right? There was not an Avera, but you should be aware that he did marry his aunt. Yishai Avi David, the Kilov ben David. Okay, here, Yehuda, here's a good trivia question for you. What was his real name? Kilov. I've said it before.
What is that? It wasn't that Daniel, was it?
No. His name was Daniel. Because Denani Kale, he was the child of David and Abigail. Abigail had been married to Novel, right? And he was a terrible person. And she proposed to David while he was still alive. It took anyway. So they had a child, and they said that child was so she named Daniel because the Nani Kale, because Hashem judged me to get me out of there. But people said that she was this Aber from Novel because they didn't wait. And the people, you're supposed to remember, we saw in the Yavamis, guys, the concept of Havchana, you have to wait 3 months. They didn't wait. They said the child was the child of what? Of Novel. So he was called Kilov, guys. Kuloi of. He looks just like David. It's the trikin of his name. This is very good obscure stuff, Dr. Press. That this is, they call him Kilov, Kuloi of. It's a contraction of the name that he looked exactly like his father. Looked exactly like his father. The Kula Gemara, all of you
could have won the crown had the bar in it, right? That the only base David could wear. Right? That was the Simon also, no?
No, we're talking about look like David. You're talking about to be a melech, right? That's jeopardy. That's nothing to do with this. Okay. Hey, listen, I introduced you as a contestant. I had to go ahead. You had to. Judea kings for 500. Anyway, all of this we have Messiah on. Levar mi Yishai, Avi David. The only one is that we know is Yishai, the father of David. Mefarish Beikra, the Torah says, T'chsiv, Ves Hamasa, Sam Avshalom, Tachas Yoav. Now Avshalom is rebelling, and he took Amasa and he made him the general in place of Yoav, Alat Sava. The Amasa ben Ish, Amasa was a ben Ish, Ushmo Yisra Yisraeli, and his name was Yisra HaYisraeli, Asher Bo El Avigail Bas Nachash, who he was married to Avigail, the daughter of Nachash. Achu Yitzruya. So Avigail, this is not Avigail that was married to David. This is Avigail, who was the sister of Tzruya, right? So Avigail is the daughter of Nachash. So Nachash's daughter was Avigail, and Nachash's daughter was Tzruya, Im Yoav. And Yoav, Aim Yoav. Yoav was the child of Tzruya. The Chibas Nachash was Avigail, the daughter of Nachash. Bas Yishai. In other words, she was David's sister. Avigail and Tzruya were David's sisters. Yoav was David's nephew. So why do you call it Bas Nachash if it's Bas Yishai? T'chsiv Acher Yisayim Tzruya v'Avigail, and their sisters were Tzruya and Avigail. Elabas Misha Meis Biyatim Shel Nachash. Why was it called Nachash? He only died as a result of the Be'ita of the Nachash, the advice of the Nachash. Okay. Hajalecha Ashutafin, Hajalecha Shutafin. Okay, back to the regularly scheduled program. Lo Yachbar. We've been discussing, it's very interesting. We've been discussing shutfis, we've been discussing divisions and walls and shchenim, hilchas of shchenim. This is where Baba Kama meets Baba Basra, guys, or where Baba Basra meets Baba Kama. We know from Baba Kama there's a din of Nizikin, the Nizik and the Masik. The Masik does damage, the Nizik is the one damage. This perek deals with hilchas shchenim and harchokos Nizikin. Going ahead and distancing yourself, distancing yourself. One more time. Distancing yourself, right, from a damage. We saw this in Baba Metzia. We had, if a person plants a tree, can you plant the bar there? You have to take down the tree. Why? Because the tree, the roots are going to grow and break the bar. But if the bar is there, if the tree is there first, you have to take the tree down. This was the machloikis between Rabbi Yossi and the Chachamim. And really, it's a Gemara. We should see it for a second. It's on Daf Chaf Hey. It's a Mishnah on Daf Chaf Hey. Amid Beis. Chaf Hey Amid Beis. You have to distance yourself 25 amas. If it's a carob tree or a sycamore tree, 50. It depends if it's above or below. It doesn't make a difference on the side. If the bar came first, it's for nice and dumb, cut it down and pay him off. You don't have to cut it down. Suffix kadam lo yikas. You don't have to go ahead. So we're going to see that as far as the machlokes is, does the nizik have to distance himself, or the mazik have to distance himself? If you hold that if the bar is there first, and then you put the tree there, if the mazik has to distance himself, yeah, it's a suffix. Then the person with the tree, because it's on the mazik to market. On the other hand, because again, what are you doing? This whole thing about Charkas Nezikin, guys, is a chiddush. What's the chiddush? I'm on my own property. I'm doing my own thing. I have to think what's going to happen on your property. You guys hear the Torah is it's very, very sensitive to a person's money. I'm on my own property. I'm doing my own thing. I can't plant a tree. I can't dig a bar because it's going to affect you. So we see that. So this is Charkas Nezikin. Okay. Says the Mishnah. A person should not go ahead and dig a bar next to the bar of his friend. So picture this. We have a line, my hand, and Pashtus, I can't dig on your property, you can't dig on my property. So we will think that if my bar is right next to the boundary, you can't dig a bar next to your boundary. Okay? Now, what gave you the right to go ahead and dig a bar next to the boundary? If I, in other words, it works both ways, as we're going to see. Not only a bar, shiach ma'ara, we saw it in Baba Kama, one's oval shape, one has a roof on top of it. These are all the things that carry water. These are water cisterns. A canal, they used to soak their laundry in stuff, and they would have another pit where they put it in, and this is the way they did laundry in those days. Unless they distance Now I'm going to foreshadow you the Gemara's question, guys. We start off saying a person shouldn't dig a bar next to another person's bar. Then it says we're speaking about damaging someone else's bar. We're not speaking about damaging someone else's wall. Right? What's going on over here? You pasach the bar and you end up with a wall. So that's the Pesach of the first sugya. That's the Pesach of the first sugya. Okay? We begin with bar and we end up in a distance from a wall. It doesn't flow at all. Now, what do you have to do if you want to build a bar? So you have to distance shloisha tfachim, 3 tfachim, and in addition, the sod basid, go ahead and pitch it with lime, the inner of the bar. If you do those 2 things, then you're good. Other things that you have to be marchik, umarchikim es agefes. This is the refuse of olives. I guess they decay and give off fumes. Ves hazevel, fertilizer. Ves hamelach, salt. Ves hasid, lime. Ves hasloyim, and rocks. Okay, this is for my favorite barbecuer of all time, Baruch ben Meir. If you look at Rashi, sloyim, says Rashi, avonim sha'or yoitzamehem. Rocks that fire comes out from, shikorin, coals. There you got it, right? Shikorin. What does Rashi say? All these years you didn't get that, Benji.
All in the car, all the Torah.
Shekol elu koshin l'chayma shemoitziin hevel. All these things give out hevel. They give out coals. They give out hevel, and therefore what? They give out some type of fumes, and it's difficult for what? To the other person's wall. Now, there is a question over here whether we say this sod basid or sod basid. In other words, guys, outside. In the first case of the bar, clearly you had to do both. You had a distance 3, you had to pitch it with sid. Over here, it's mashma either both the same thing, 3 plus sid, but with the second shot, either shleishet tfachim or sod basid. Depends on the girsa, where the girsa the word oi or just a vav. Machikim es hazroyim ves machresha ves meiraglayim and a kaisel. You distance planting and plowing and meiraglayim from the kaisel shleishet tfachim. Umarchikim es rechayim shleisha min hashachev shein arba min harechev. You distance the mill 3 tfachim from the lower part. The shachev is the lower part, which is 4 from the higher part. It goes up. It loses a tefach on the way up. Vesatana shleisha min hakalya, which is the lower part. Shein arba min hasafa, which is the upper part. Okay, for all intents and purposes, let's focus on the first din. The first din is what? A person is digging a bar. He cannot dig a bar next to the bar of his friend unless he distances himself what? 3 tefachim. 3 tefachim. Now, so let's just to get these things straight, guys. So here I have my line of demarcation, correct? So I have to dig a bar. Guys, this is important. I have to dig a bar. I have to distance myself 3. My shachin, he wants to dig a bar. He has to distance himself 3. So my pinky is, let's say, the distance of my index finger is a 3. They would have to go ahead by my pinkies. That's where they could dig. But no one can go ahead and dig over here, and no one can dig over here. Good? That's what's mashma. Okay. Says the Gemara on the base. Pasach bibar. Pasach bibar. U'mesayim b'kaisel. You go ahead, you start the sugya, and you start saying the word bar, and you end up with a wall. So what's going on, Rashi? Pasach bebar, soimich lebar rishal chaveroi, v'hada sayim, elam kein hirchik mi kaisel. Havilei lemisni, elam kein hirchik mi bayroi. It should have said, not from his wall, but from his bar. The ilu mi kaislei, kaisel aboni al gabe karkahu. Stama kaisel is built on top of the ground. So it seems to be what? Not only is it the wording wrong, the whole concept is wrong. Bar is under the ground, and a kaisel is above the ground. So Amar Abaya, and for the Gemara, the Item Rav Yehuda, mi kaisel boirish shaninon. We're not speaking what from. We're not speaking from the hollow of the ear space of the bar. We're speaking from the wall of the bar. Now, guys, what is the wall of the bar? Let's go back to my scenario. This is why I did this, right? Let's go back to my scenario. It really is not 3 tefachim because I can't come to the side. I can't come to the side. Any distance that's going to be from over here is considered the wall of the bar. If the bar is here, this is the wall of the bar. If the bar is here, this is the wall of the bar. Any area is going to be the wall of the bar. Anything between whatever. Now, the minimal is 3 tefachim. The minimal is 3 tefachim. But you can't. So, in other words, if I have a bar right here, and the minimal wall is 3 tefachim, but if it's 4 tefachim, then it's 4 tefachim. If it's 5 tefachim, it's 5 tefachim. Why? What does it mean? I can go over here on this side and make it within 3 tefachim of his bar? Understand, guys? It has to be that anything from the edge of the bar till the boundary is considered the wall of the bar. Guys, you with me?
Yeah,
Yes.
So it's a minimum really of 6 tvachim. He has to be 3 from the wall, and he has to be 3 from the wall. So it's really a minimum of 6 tvachim each bar.
On each side. That's the minimal. That's the minimal. But again, if at any distance, you're gonna have to distance yourself from the meitzar. Any distance from the bar until the meitzar is considered the wall of the bar, because you can't build on his side, guys. If the mashmois is and you distance 3, so watch. Here's what you can tell me. He's 8 tefachim away. So what are you going to tell me? You come over here and 5 tefachim, you're going to 3 distance. You can't deal over here. Obviously, it means only up to here. So the minimal is the scenario I gave you: 3 tefachim, right? That's the minimal. That's the minimal. But again, that's the chiddush. So when it says kaisel in the havamina, what was it? A kaisel above the ground. No, it's not the kaisel above the ground. You know what it is? It's the kaisel of the bar, but not the ear space of the bar. Amar Abaya v'yitem Rabbi Yehuda mikaisel bar shaninu. For the Gemara, v'lisni elam kein hirchak mi bar rishal chaveri gimel tefachim. Why don't you just learn in case you distance from the bar? Why do you use the word kaisel? Go just distance from the bar, 3 tefachim. Says the Hakamash, the kaisel bar shleisha tefachim. That the kaisel of a bar is minimal of 3 tefachim. In other words, guys, you could have learned. You distance yourself from the bar 3 tefachim, from over here. Elamai, you're telling me that the minimal. You're telling me the minimal area around the bar is 3 tefachim. Nafkamina lemekach hamemkar. Guys, if you buy a bar, how much land do you get around it? 3 tefachim. Notice the wall of the bar is not I excavate, and then what you see is the wall, the excavation, and you get 3 tefachim within that excavation of earth. I'm selling you bar and its wall, like the minimum amount has to be 3 tefachim. Guys, you have it good? You're clear? Okay. So again, the chiddush of the Mishnah is that you have to distance yourself minimal of 3 tefachim from the person's wall of his bar, and the minimal and that's the minimal amount, because if he would go ahead and distance from the kaisel on this side and from the kaisel on the other side, right? That distance, the minimal distance, will be 3 tefachim. Okay, we're going to have a machloikus now between Abaye and Rava. It's going to go ahead and it's going to be with us till the end of the daf, and tomorrow, in the beginning of tomorrow's daf. Okay, so let's get the machloikus clear. Itmar haba lismoich bitzad hameitzar. Someone wants to go ahead, what? And be soimich, he wants to go ahead and be soimich on the side, on his boundary. He wants to be soimich on his boundary. 1 second. So this person, he wants to be what? He wants to be soimech to dig a bar in his field. Bitzara meitzar, but by the boundary that's between him and his friend. Now, there is no bar on the other side. Again, what's the din on Mishnah, fellas? The din on Mishnah is you have to distance yourself 3 tefachim from his bar. He has to distance himself 3 tefachim from your bar. Let's say there is no bar on the other side. And you build, in other words, there's nothing here. Can I put my bar right here? There's nothing here. Got it? Can I put my bar right here? Our Mishnah is speaking where there's a bar, right? Here, there is no bar. Here, there is no bar. So you want to go ahead, what? And you want to go ahead and put a bar there on your side. Can you do that or not? Is it possible for you to go ahead and put a bar there or not? So it's machlokes Abaye v'Rava. Itmar. Habol lismoich, person wants to go ahead and put a bar, soimech b'tzad hameitzar on his side. Abaye amar soimech, the first person go ahead and do it. And when the sheni goes ahead and he wants to go ahead and dig, you know what he's going to have to do? As Heshi said, he's going to have to distance himself 6 tefachim. As Heshi said, he's going to have to distance himself now 6 tefachim. Because if he's 3 tefachim, it's right next to I have to distance myself 3 tefachim from his 3 tefachim. So now, if he's going to go ahead and do it, he's going to have to distance himself a total of 6 tefachim. He'll have to distance himself a total of 6 tefachim. That's what Taisa says. The Rava Amar ain't a saimich. Rava says he can't be saimich. He has to distance himself 3 tefachim from the mesa. And when the sheni comes to build a bar, he would distance himself 3 tefachim. Okay. Now we're going to have a machlokes. We're going to have machlokes exactly what's the mitzias over here. Now, if I have a field that's a beis hashlachim, that's a field that I need irrigation. That's called a field that's asur l'boros. That's a field I'm going to have to dig ditches in. If it's a beis habal, if it's one that it's rain takes care of it, then you're not going to have a ditch there. But if it's a beis hashlachim that you have to irrigate, you're going to have a ditch there. So let's introduce 2 types of fields. One that you're prone to dig a ditch, and one you're prone not to dig a ditch. Good. So we have machloikis between Abaye and Rava, and the machloikis is going to be the following. Let's do it beforehand. Okay. So 2 possibilities. It's a field it's a beis hashlachim that can make bayris. It's a field that you don't make bayris. So in the first lashon, we have 2 lashonis, guys. A lashon Kaman and Nikah the Amri. In the first lashon, Abaye says you can't be soimich. Abaye would agree. Abaye who says soimich, that's dafka in a field that you can't make a ditch in. If it's a field that you could make a ditch in, there's no machlokes. Both Abaye and Rabbi agree. Where's the machlokes? Where it's a field that she'eino asur l'boros. It's a field that you don't put boros in. It's a field that it says Abaye. Therefore, since the guy's not going to put a bar on his other side, saimich, you can be saimich. And Rabbi says, ain't a saimich, and we'll see why. So the machloikis in the first lashon is a field that you don't make a ditch in. In the second lashon, the machloikis is in the field that you do make a ditch in. Even there, Abaye says saimich. But they both agree, if it's a field you don't make a ditch in, you can be saimich. That's the machloikis. So the machloikis in the first lashon, the machloikis is the field that you don't make a ditch. In the second lashon, the machloikis is a field that you do make a ditch. Those are the 2 lashonis. We'll go back to that chart in a second as we go through the Gemara. But once you get that chart, everything goes geschmiert. It won't be so confusing. Says the Gemara. If it's a sada beis hashlachim that you're going to build ditches for irrigation, divrei hakol, everyone agrees, ain't a saimich, right? Everyone, even Rava, even Abaye would agree, ain't a saimich. Ki pligi, where's the machlokes? Besada she'ein asuya lebayros. So where's the machlokes? By a sada she'ein asuya lebayros. That's where the machlokes is. So over here they both agree, ein asaymich, and over here they both. That's the machlokes. A sada she'ein asuya. Now let's see. What's as far as the machlokes? A buyer am asaymich da ein asuya lebayros. Since it's not ois lebayros, he Rav Am ein asaymich da malay ki hechi de'at im lachta v'chafarta. Guys, it's a field that's not made for boiris. Did this guy obviously change his mind and put a bar there? So just like you changed your mind and put a bar there, I can change my mind and put a bar there. And therefore, you can't do it. You can't put a bar next to the boundary. Because just like even though it's a field that's not normally dug, but you did, so I also can not normally dug, but did. That's Rav Svara. So this makes a lot of sense. Since it's a field that you usually make boiris, you can't go ahead and be saimich. Everyone agrees. Where's the machlokes? A field that what? You don't. Says Abaya, you could. Says Rava, just like you did, maybe I want to. Ikad the army, the second lashon. Besada sheina suya lebayros. A sada that is not made lebayros. Devia called saimich. Even Rava would agree saimich. Guys, look at the chart. There it is. I'll even make it in blue for you. There you go. No, that's not good. There you go. Okay. Here's the machlokes over here. Here's the machlokes. This is no one disagrees over here. Where's the machlokes? Machlokes is over here. Asada hasuye leboyros. That's the machlokes. Ki pligi besada hasuye leboyros. Abayo amasaymich. Why? It's made leboyros. I feel rabbanon dami marchikin es ilam in abar esem v'chamesh ama. Even the chachamim who we met on Chavhei, who say that the Masik has to go ahead the Masik has to go ahead and distance himself. Hasam who the Ba'idna the Kanata Isla bar. That's because when he planted it, the bar was there already. So the Masik has to distance himself. Abu Hacha Ba'idna the Kachafa, when he began going ahead digging, less of the bar. So since there was no bar here, he could put it there. Rava Amar ain't a Slaimich. I feel Rabbi Yossi, even Rabbi Yossi, who says the Amar Zech for protection is that the Nizik has to distance himself. Hani Mili Hasam the Beidin the Kanata less than the Shrasha. Because when he planted the tree, as of yet, the Masik, the Shrashim hadn't grown yet. The Masik of the bar. Abu Hacha, Amalei, Kamar Vimar, the Machia, each shovelful that you take, Kamar for Slayla Roy. It's going ahead wide and destroying my land. Okay, so let's go through the study over here. The second sad. Sada Shein Asui Laboiris, everyone says you can be Saimich, no problem. Because after all, it's not normal, go ahead and do it. Over here, says Abaya, since there was no existing bar, even though it could be there, Saimich, says Rava, ain't a Saimich. Why? Because anything you do, any digging you do, is going to loosen my property. And I'm not, unless you distance yourself for 3 thrachim. But digging so close to my property is going to go ahead what? And even the Chachamim, the Rabbi Yossi, who disagrees, would agree over here. Okay, the bottom line is, where's the machlokes? Machlokes is over here and over here. These are the two places in machlokes. I'm going to keep this on the board, guys. Two machlokes, and you see, he says this, he says this, he says this. Okay, now, let's see the Gemara. Tanan. Lo yachbar adam bar, soymich lebar shel chaveroi. Our Mishnah is not the machlokes between Abaye and Rava, guys. Abaye and Rava are arguing, putting it next to the boundary. Our Mishnah is speaking where what? You had an existing bar, right? So a person should not go ahead and dig a bar. The reason, the ikka bar. The reason is because there's an existing bar. Haleka bar, but if there was not a bar, saimich, then you could. So l'chayra means you could put the boundary there. So guys, look, saimich, 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 right? So now, Bishleim alach lishna da armit besada shener ruil boyreis debia kol saimich. Bishleim, according to the second lashon, guys, where it says saimich, saimich. So the Mishnah is speaking in a case where the sada was not normally made boyreis. Layach ba adam, if there's an existing bar. If there's not an existing bar, he doesn't have to distance himself to Tfachim. You know why? Because it's normally a field that's not normally dug up. So therefore, it could be this, like the Ikadi Amri, it works out according to both of them. Masnislam besada shena asur leboyres. Elahach lishna the Amrit. Besada shena asur leboyres pligi, like the Lashon Kama, that the Machlokes is, where even a field that normally you don't do it, Bishleim la Bayanicha. Bay says Saimich is great, you could do it. El Rava Kasha, like Rava, why ain't a Saimich, fellas? Again, what's the diak in the Mishnah? The reason you have to distance because there's an existing bar. If there's not an existing bar and it's a field that you don't have a bar, why you wouldn't have to be Saimich? You could be Saimich. Kasha on Rava. Is that a fastball in the outside corner? One more time. Our Mishnah says the reason you have to distance yourself is because there are two existing bars. What happens is not existing bar, and a guy's coming to do it. Our Mishnah's mashma, he could do it, and he doesn't have to distance himself. Good? So in other words, mashma saimach. So according to the Lashon, that the field is a field that's not normally dug up, our Mishnah is speaking about that field, according to the second Lashon. So both Abaye and Rava hold, since there's no existing bar there and it's not normally dug up, you can go ahead and be Saimach. But like this Lashon that Rava said, that just like you changed your mind, I could change my mind, and even in a field that's not normally dug up, why ain't a Saimach? The Mishnah's mashma, the whole reason you have to ain't a Saimach is because there's an existing bar on the other side. Mashma, if there's no existing bar on the other side, you could be Saimach. Kasha on Rava ain't a Saimach. Says the Gemara, Amalach Rava, Itmar Allah. What did we learn on this? Amar Abaya, Vitem Rav Yehuda, Meikaisel Bara Shaninon. We're speaking what? Kaisel Bara. Guys, we're turning the tables now. What did our Mishnah say? What did our Mishnah say? Right? What our Mishnah said clearly, what do you have to do? The Kaisel Bayroi. You couldn't be Saimach to his Kaisel. The Kaisel Bayroi. Meaning you couldn't be Saimach to the wall. It's Saimach to the Kaisel of my finger, not Saimach to the Gemara, which is the Meitzar, so, right? So in other words, there was an existing buffer zone over there. So it's now all of a sudden, Rabbi turned the tables. You thought Saimach can go to the boundary. No, look, it says you have to Saimach lebayrai, meaning there's a Saimach to the bar, and we said that whatever space there is from the airspace of the bar until the wall is considered the Kaisel of the bar. So therefore, so says Rashi, guys, even the Rishon has to distance himself, the distance of a kaisel, so you wanted to ask on me from the Mishnah, that is there, if there's not an existing bar there, you could be Saimach. No, if there's not an existing bar there, you could dig a bar, but it's still got to be within 3 tefachim because it says kaisel shabar. So now, what was a kasha on Rava is now a raya to Rava. Okay, I'm going to put the chart back up because we're going to finish the Gemara with it. Amalach Rava ha'idmar Allah Amar Abaya v'item Rav Yehuda mikaisel boyroi shanina ikad the army. Now, guys, in the ikad the army, the kasha is going to be on Abaya. Because of this, it says kaisel boyroi. The kasha is going to be on Abaya because now it's mashma einoi saimach because there's a buffer zone. V'itmar Allah Amar Abaya v'item Rav Yehuda mikaisel boyroi shanina. There's a buffer zone, 3 tefachim. Guys, according to the first lashon, a sada that you put boiris in, ain't a saimach, you need 3 tefachim. So this Mishnah, our Mishnah is speaking what? About a sada that you are soil boiris, correct? And therefore ain't a saimach, yes? In other words, you need 3 tefachim, you can't put it right next to it. So according to this lashon, this could be our Mishnah speaking in this case, where it's a sada that usually you dig up. Ela alahach lishna the armit besada hasuya lebayrais pligi. The machloikus is over here. The sada hasuya lebayrais. The second lashon bishleim lerava nicha ein a saimach. Ela baya kasha labaya shver basha mashi you don't need 3 tefachim. Amlach abaya maslisan shebolach bo b'basachas. Our Mishnah is in the Kimta. Our Mishnah that says ein a saimach. You know what it's speaking about? Where they came to dig at the same time. If you came first, the Baya said you could be saimach. You beat me to the punch. But if you both came at the same time, then what? Then ain't a saimach. Okay, so let's go through the Gemara again. Machloikas Abaye v'Rava. Abaye says saimach, Rava says ain't a saimach. According to the Lishna Kama, the machloikas is by a bar shein asui lebayros. According to the second lashon, the machloikas by a sada that what a sada asui lebayros. Good, that's the machloikas. The first lashon is a kasha on Rava, because Bishleim like Rava, this Bishleim like Rava, this lashon, this works out Saimach. Because Amish is mashma only because there's a bar ain't a Saimach. But if it's not a bar, you could be Saimach, right? But according to Lishnashla, Rava, according to Rava, ain't a Saimach in both cases. And the answer is that our Mishnah, this is not a good kasha, because our Mishnah says that Saimach is next to 3 tefachim. Oh, not next to the boundary, it's 3 tefachim, because it's Kaisel Boyroi. Oh, Kaisel Boyroi, now I got a kasha on Abaya. Abaya said you could be Saimach. Why can you be Saimach? And for the Gemara, because you speaking where you were at, you came to do it at the same time. Since you came to do it at the same time, therefore ain't a Saimach. But if you came to do it earlier, then Saimach, you will be able to be Saimach. I know it's not easy Gemara, but if you look at the chart, guys, go through it, save the chart. I sent it. I'll send out the chart. I'll send it out. It'll be easier. Okay.